Good afternoon. It is the 15th of February, 2024. I have a few hours in the afternoon on this day, so I'm going to see what I can do. I finally, today, just got my shipment from Classic Tube. This has the complete brake line kit. Well, almost complete, I guess. I thought it was going to include the inlet tubes on the calipers, but it doesn't. So I'm just unpacking this for the first time. And one of the things I'm going to demonstrate, oh, this is interesting. It's the first time I've actually had these out of the box, so give me a minute. This is the main line that goes from front to back, the one that I really bought this whole kit for. This was the main one right here, and I've never dealt with a shipment like this before where you've got shipping bins where you have to unbend them carefully and whatnot. So I watched their YouTube video on how they did it. Of course, it looks wonderfully simple in how they do it, so I was oohing and ahhing a little bit here because I was mentioning when I was taking the old one off about this extra sheathing, and it's on the replacement too, which impresses me. So they did duplicate that part of the tube as it was in the original equipment. So since I don't have a elevated table that's handy, this is the only tube that I can see that has a shipping bend in it. This one goes over the rear axle, so that's another one that I'll be using. That's in the box. And I think this front one I'm not going to use unless I change my mind, but right now I'm not planning on using it. I'm just going to keep it as a spare. So I thought I'm going to make sure that there's no inlet tube in this package too, just to be sure. So I'm going to take a chance here and let you watch me unbend these shipping bends, and hopefully this goes well. It looks pretty simple actually from what I saw. So I'm just going to try this. Let's see how this goes. And here we go. Okay. And of course, I wouldn't normally use my car's fender, but obviously she's gonna be getting a paint job at some future date. Not right now, but so I'm trying to be very careful here. And then they demonstrated how to just use your hands to finish straightening it out. I see a little bit of a bend right there. Okay. So that part actually came out pretty good. Now there's another shipping bend over here. Let's see here how I can do this. This bend here I don't want to mess with, so I'm trying to be careful about that. Okay, I think that's kind of it right there. I'm sure there's some more straightening that I'll probably do as I'm laying on the ground and trying to install this and whatnot, but I think for the most part that was it. So now I just got to figure out what's front and what's back. I believe this is going to go like this from what I remember, so we'll find out soon enough. So that one will probably be the first one I try to install. Okay. The other thing I'm going to take another crack at, is if I haven't already mentioned it online, is I'm going to try that electric choke again, the second one that I got, because I called those guys up, Mike's Carburetor, and they said that according to their computer system, that is the right choke for this car. So I have doubts about that, but I'm going to go ahead and actually install it all the way and see if it might actually work, even though it doesn't look like the coil is facing the right way. And if it doesn't work, which is what I expect, I'm going to remove that coil, flip it over, and try again. They say you shouldn't do that because you probably break it, but I can't return it anyway, so I've got nothing to lose at that point. So, but that'll come later. I have a feeling that I'm probably going to wear my back out before I even get to that point today. Got plenty to do now with the brakes now that I got all these lines, and I have enough hardware I can do one of the rear brakes. I'm waiting on Stinkin' Lincoln, John Lyman, to send me parts that I've requested, like the brake drum and a couple of washers, so I haven't got those yet. But I have plenty here to get started with, so we'll get going here. All right, I'm more than a little frustrated right now with what I got from Classic Tube. I can understand shipping bins. Sure, you got to make it fit into a box. I get that. But when I take my shipping bins out, most of them anyway, here's what I'm left with at the back of the car, where I've got to, set this approximately like it should be looking. that end is nowhere near where it needs to be. You can see the opening where the hose goes, and that's where that end is supposed to be sticking through the steel line, and it's not even close. I mean, it's nowhere close. So I am not happy about that. This is going to force me to use my own bending tool. I know I have one somewhere, and do my best to just bend it so it will fit. I mean, I don't get it. This should not be an issue, and yet that's not even close. This is as bad or worse than the steel fuel lines that I ordered from them too. That wasn't close. I'm just, I don't get it. Very frustrating to me. I think I can figure out the front part okay, but this is just ridiculous. I'm not happy about that. All right, I've got the line installed from the front of the car. I had to do quite a bit of bending and whatnot to get it to match up and curl under here and everything. It's not perfect, but all this I can live with. The hard part's going to be getting that rear fitting all bent around to match up with the hose and that bracket. I mean that just astounds me at how far off that is. However, those lines bend pretty easily, almost too easily, based on what I just did up front. So I think I'll manage. I'm just going to have to be careful. So that's what I'm going to work on next, is getting that bent around to where it will meet up with the hose in that hole there and for that bracket. I don't like the way it's hanging down here either, but I'll work on that too. All right, I'm a little less upset now. With a lot of careful forcing and bending and whatnot, I got it bent enough to actually made up with the flex hose, as you can see here. This is just my initial set. I mean, the line is hitting right against the resonator right now, so I'll have to bend it some more carefully. I'm concerned about the sharp turn right there. I can't bend that any more than it already is, so I'll have to be very careful how I get that away from the resonator without making a mess. Right now I'm getting one of these new style clips. This is Brian gave me a part number for this that should work in these newer style hoses, the ends here, so I can put the clip on and hold it in place. So I'm going to get that in place to hold the hose, and then I'm going to bend that line a little bit more to get it away from the resonator, and I should be about done then. Okay, I got my new clip in here, and it holds this hose very firmly, which I love. Thank you, Brian, for that. And I managed to move the line a little bit more so it's not touching the exhaust anymore. I'm not going to worry too much about the way this is sticking out here on the side, because I don't want to bend things too much. I might play with that a little bit more, but so right now I've got I cleaned off the mating surface a little bit with my new wheel on my drill there, clean that up a little bit. So now I'm going to work on hooking up the new lines that go back here to this wheel cylinders on both sides. I'm not tightening any fittings yet. I'm just finger tightening them right now just to get everything in place. As much as I was hoping that these freeform lines would just magically fit perfectly with no adjustments at all, I see now that that was not realistic at all. So I'm going to have to do a little manipulating on this line too. I'll just get it plugged into the ends on both sides, the wheel cylinder over there and the line over here. And then I'll just kind of mold it to fit around the axle. At least that's my plan. Now I'm in the process of tightening all my lines down using 2 wrenches on this fitting here to make sure I tighten all these properly. So that's going pretty well. Now you can see my line is in place. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Everything is where it should be now. I've already tightened the lines into the wheel cylinders. So I have that fitting to tighten, and then I'll be done at the back, I think. Now that I'm done at the back, I'm going to work on the front. I did verify that these inlet tubes are indeed not part of the big kit that I just got from Classic Tubes, so I'm glad I kept these. And these are stainless steel. They're not identical, so I have to make sure I put them with the right caliper, so I'll go fit that in a minute. I had to reuse these adapter fittings from the old calipers. There are new crush washers for that, and also where it connects. Actually, I don't know that I need both crush washers. I think I just need one, but I'll find out in a minute on that. One of these adapter fittings goes, where is it? Right here, where this yellow plug is. There it is. Goes right there. So I'm going to put that in right now. It's a 9/16 wrench that holds that. All right, driver front connections are done for the hydraulic brake lines. That is tight now. My new inlet tube is right here, tight over there and tight right there with the new crush washer and the adapter fitting. So this whole side of the car is done now hydraulically. So now I'm going to switch to the right front. And when I'm done there, I could literally bleed the brakes if I wanted to, I think. All right, I've just concluded this part of the brake job. I've got all my new lines in now, with the exception of the ones right here that go underneath the frame for the front of the car. I decided to leave well enough alone. They are fine. I didn't damage the ends of them, so I don't feel like replacing those. I'll just keep the new ones as spares. Here's one of those new clips. That works much better at keeping this tight. I'm much happier with that. It works a lot better in the back for some reason. That one is really tight. The front ones are tighter than they were, so this is adequate. And this is the new line I just installed. So everything is tight. I made sure of that. I used my line wrench or my tubing wrench to make sure everything is tight like it should be. So I will do some cleaning up, straightening up a little bit, and then I probably will just go ahead and see if I can bleed the brakes. I don't think there's any reason I can't now because all lines are installed, everything is tight. I know I haven't done the rear brakes yet, but I'm not going to use the brake pedal either. I'm just going to use my vacuum pump and see how that goes. So let me get cleaned up here and get set for that. All right, I have tightened all my hoses and lines. Everything is tight. So I think I'm ready to bleed. One thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention is that I hadn't finished securing the line underneath the car, so I got it all done now. All the little clamps are in place, everything is locked in place, and I feel bad now that I was critical of Classic 2 because now that everything's in place, it looks beautiful. I just had to manipulate it a little bit, get over myself, and work with it, and it ended up working out well as far as I'm concerned. So now this is the only bleeder screw that's open a little bit, so I'm going to try my vacuum trick and see if I can get some fluid moving through the system. I imagine it's going to take a little while to get fluid to come this far. Since it's dry right now, there's nothing in the caliper yet. Maybe I need to open this a little bit more. So I'm going to work on that a while until I see some fluid flowing through here, then I'll come back. All right, it's just a couple minutes later, and I have some fluid flowing through the hose. There it goes, you can see it coming through. I've never actually bled brakes like this before, so I don't know how long I'm supposed to pump this. I'm assuming until I no longer see air bubbles in it, but it seems to be working well. I've got fluid flowing through the system now, at least to the right front brake. And again, I'm not really sure how long I should do this. I'm going to stop at this wheel, seal it back up, and go to another wheel to get the flow started. Hey, judging by the low fluid level now in the master cylinder, I would say that I was definitely being successful at moving fluid through the system. So I'm going to refill it first. Now I'm at the left front wheel. All right, I successfully got fluid flowing at the left front wheel. Now I'm at the right rear, the furthest point away from the car. So we'll see how long it takes me to vacuum some fluid back here. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's tough getting that fluid to the back of the car. However, you can see there that it's definitely moving. It just hasn't started coming out my hose yet, so I guess it's busy filling up the lines and everything. I didn't expect it to take this long, but I guess when your car is a mile long, it takes a while to get the fluid back there, so I'm continuing to pump. I'm going to refill the master cylinder some more, and then I'll pump some more. At long last, I've got fluid moving into the back brake lines. It took forever to get it moving back here, but it's finally coming, as you can see. All right, I'm wrapping this up for the day. Now, oh, shoot. This will be a take 2. All right, I am wrapping this up for the day. And I'll say again that I am now very pleased with my new brake lines from Classic 2. Even though I had a lot of frustration at the beginning, I got through it, and now I'm happy. I was able to successfully get fluid to flow to all 4 wheels using my little vacuum pump. So technically, I guess the brakes are bled, but I don't really trust them. When I finally get the rear brakes completely on there, I'll get a friend to bleed them the old-fashioned way, or at least check to make sure there's no air left in the lines. But I'm quite pleased. So that's all I had time to do today, but still, it was a big accomplishment. And I'll have time to work on it some more tomorrow, Friday. And I have one wheel in the back I can now work on as far as putting the brake shoes on and whatnot. And we'll see where we go from there. Have a good evening.